Greetings and welcome to this campus conversation. I'm Dan Mogoloff from UC Berkeley's Office of Communications and Public Affairs. Last week, a campus message, which we hope you've seen, was sent to all students with updated information about the fall semester. It included word of a difficult decision to begin the fall semester with fully remote instruction due to increasing COVID cases in the region around the campus and across the state. So with so much in flux, these campus conversations have been designed to answer your questions and, given today's focus on new students, provide you with the information you need to make the most of your first semester at Cal. We already have a large number of your previously submitted questions, but we're open to more, and you are most welcome to post any queries you may have now or during the event to our Facebook Live site. Any questions that we don't have time to answer today or we're unable to answer today, we'll post those answers on relevant websites that were listed in that campus message I mentioned, and I'll be sharing those website addresses again at the end of today's events. As it happens, we have scheduled one more of these student-oriented events for August 11th at 5 p.m., when we'll be talking about supporting the student experience during these challenging times, and we hope you can join us. But for now, let's get started with today's event. Our panelists include Samuel Santos, who is the Assistant Vice Chancellor for Student Engagement, Mickey Antovich, who is the Assistant Dean of Students and Director of New Student Services, and Lorena Valdez, who is the Director of Transfer Programs and a leader at the Centers for Educational Equity and Excellence. Folks, thanks for joining us today. And I'd just like to go around the room for the very beginning, starting with you, Samuel. Tell us a little bit about what it is you do for a living, and if you had one thing that you want people to take away from today's event, what would that be? Samuel, please.
Sure. Thank you, Dan. First, I want to begin by congratulating our transfer class of 2022 and our freshman class of 2024 on joining the UC Berkeley family. My name is Samuel Santos, and I'm Assistant Vice Chancellor for Student Engagement and the Division of Student Affairs at UC Berkeley. The portfolio that I oversee includes new student services, residential life, recreational sports, the Student Environmental Resource Center, also known as CERC, the Leadership Engagement Advising and Development Center, also known as the LEAD Center. And if there's one thing I was going to share with the students watching and their family support systems, it would be this. We acknowledge that times are tough right now, that you may be concerned about your health and safety with COVID, you may be affected financially through COVID. We also acknowledge that our country is in a deep time of reflection when it comes to addressing anti-racism or addressing racism, specifically anti-Black racism. There's a lot happening in the world. And what I want the students and the families to know is that we're really prepared. Over the last few months, so many of us on campus have been working really hard to prepare for students, and we're excited to welcome you all to UC Berkeley.
Great. Mickey, tell us a little bit about what you do and what you hope the main takeaway will be from today's event.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm so thankful for the opportunity to spend some time with you. In New Student Services, what I like to say is my job is you. Truly. I am incredibly privileged to have the opportunity to really help support the transition of new students from the moment they say yes through their transition to the start of classes. And we know there's been lots of ups and downs, but it is the purpose of our office to really make sure that transition is a smooth one. And that means helping to navigate all those emails, everything that's going on. And to Samuel's point about we've been working really hard, I feel like that is for you to feel some level of trust and hope that we set the bar really high at Berkeley. And I am so privileged to work with incredible students and staff who are working to make this incredible for you all. And specifically, there's a group that I get to work with, amazing students who we want to be able to treat you not as just this 9,000 group of students, not just the incoming transfer class, the incoming first year class, but as individuals. And so we've built programs that will start with you on August 21st with Golden Bear Orientation that really will also help you connect and see your individual place. Because no matter where that is in the world, in Berkeley, in a residence hall, whatever time zone, that you as an individual have an impact and being able to build that community. So know that that is our baseline when we looked at everything we were wanting to build for this year and for you, is remembering how do we serve all while recognizing that individual.
Thanks, Mickey. Lorena.
Hi, everyone. It's really wonderful to be here. I want to mention that as Director of Transfer Programs for CE3, I oversee the Transfer Student Center, the Miller Scholars Program, and Student Support Services, which is a federally funded TRIO program. These programs are all designed to really connect transfer students to advice, to support, to community, and to really help you thrive and achieve at the university. I want to echo Samuel's earlier sentiments. These are really tough times, but transfer students are also really tough. Community college has really prepared you for this experience. It has laid the foundation from which you will build and really create something meaningful, original, and distinct. Reach out, connect with support, and you will make something truly meaningful out of this experience.
Super. So before we get into some of the questions that have already been presented, we're already getting questions on Facebook Live, and I encourage everyone watching to submit questions as we go along. But one just came in that I want to address right now, and somebody's asked if this event will be recorded and archived so you can watch later, and the answer is yes, absolutely. If you simply do a search for Berkeley Campus Conversations, you will be able to find this event, not only this event, but all the other campus conversation events we've had in the past, including one on instruction and one on housing. So absolutely, if you can't stay with us for the entire time today, please come on back and it'll all be there archived for your later viewing. Samuel, let me start with you on one of the questions that came in, with the knowledge that some of our new students, transfers and freshmen alike, some of them will be staying at home or off campus or away from Berkeley. Some will be coming to the campus. For those coming to the campus and coming for the first time, what's it going to be like? What will they find? What will the setup be?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Dan. As everyone knows, UC Berkeley has updated its plans for the fall semester, and we're starting in hybrid mode with fully remote instruction in the beginning. So the preparations will continue to implement hybrid and or flexible modes of instruction as soon as public health conditions allow. In terms of physical spaces, most of the buildings, many of the buildings will be closed. So the library will not be open at the beginning of the fall semester. And when it does open, it will provide low density spaces for students to study. So I'd encourage students to really follow the library's website to see what's happening there. In terms of events, all department-sponsored events and non-departmental sponsored events on the main campus will be canceled through December 31st, 2020. So it's highly recommended that if you do have events, that you move them to remote delivery where feasible. And if you are planning for in-person events, just plan for them to also potentially be canceled. So it'll be a very different experience. We will be providing some limited spaces outdoors for students to congregate. In terms of the res halls, our real priority is going to be balancing safety and community building. So our students will all be in single res halls situations, and we'll be in daily contact with them. It will be mostly remotely. We're going to close our lounges and kitchens, at least initially, until we get in everyone safely. So we're asking students to prepare for a much different experience than they would have planned for, knowing that we'll focus on community, connection, and ways that are guided by public health guidelines.
So let me follow up. In fact, question just came in. How many freshmen do we think will be coming to live in university res halls? What percentage would that be of the freshman class?
I believe as of today, it's approximately 1,700.
Out of,
I would guess the incoming class would be around 9,000. Nikki could probably give us a better number on that.
That's
Nikki?
the number.
What's that?
That's the number.
That's the number. So, Samuel, let me stay with you just a little bit, and because since we're talking about, at least for that portion of our audience, for those students who are planning to come to campus, what's the protocol? Will they need to be tested before they come? Will they get a COVID test once they arrive? How's that all going to look?
Yeah, we're really still trying to firm up the details, but generally what I can share is that we expect students that are coming to live in the res halls to be tested on the first day arrive. Then we're going to ask them to self-isolate for at least 7 days and then get tested again, and then to expect periodic testing.
Got it. And I'm going to throw this out to all of you. I'm not sure, I think you all may have something to say, something to add. So obviously a majority of our freshmen, and I'm betting the same is true for transfer students, will not be living in university res halls. What's the online world going to look like, both in terms of instruction and student life? Lorena, let me come to you. We haven't heard from you yet. Maybe talk a little bit from the transfer student's perspective of online life as a first-year student at Cal.
No, it's going to be, certainly different and distinct. I think there's going to certainly be an adjustment that students will have to make in order to sort of connect to support, to information, and to advice. But I think we've learned a lot, Dan, since March about what students are experiencing in this online environment, and we're using that to build new support, to make sure that we're filling in the gaps that might exist, and really looking for new ways to really make the most of this online world, and really bring it to students, and really help them to connect, as I said, but also to explore a little bit more fully this experience and opportunities that exist for them.
Mickey, how does it look from where you sit?
Yeah, I think back in April, our team looked at our Golden Bear orientation program. So a program which would normally be fully in person, whether you lived in the residence halls or a private apartment off campus. And something that was really important for us is that we continue to serve 100% of the incoming class and make sure we're doing it in a safe way that also honors the safety of our orientation leaders and our mentors, all the folks who come together. And so we made that decision to move to a virtual model. And so Golden Bear orientation is actually just a great way for them to see what things are going to be like. We really want it to be a model of how they're going to experience life at Berkeley. And what that means is they're not sitting on their computer from 8 a.m. to midnight. Because if they were on campus, they wouldn't be sitting in a classroom all day, every day. They're making the space and time their own. So Golden Bear orientation, we're actually working to put every student in a small group of about 30 to 40 students. First years will be with other first years, transfers will be with other transfers led by current transfer students. And every day will have time with that small group. And then there's going to be a lot of opportunities for them to pick and choose. We're really hoping that they can see this as an opportunity to explore, learn about all the opportunities of Berkeley, because with our large campus, sometimes what I find with new students is that you don't actually know all the opportunities that are available to you. You don't know the resources. And we have far more than I think folks realize. For example, we have a student parent center that literally is a space for our folks who are parents themselves as students. And that's something that's pretty rare to see across college campuses. So it's our hope to help introduce students to the wide opportunities of Berkeley, the resources, the support, those really niche areas, and empower students to do that outreach. And I say, whether you're in a residential hall or in another time zone, Berkeley helps students be advocates, to use their voice, to reach out, to engage. Berkeley students, once they graduate, they know what to ask for. And so I don't see that it really is any different in this online world, is they're just choosing to explore and engage. And what we're actually hopeful for is that there may be way more that they're able to do because of this structure, that they can jump from one thing to another. But it will require them to also be participants and not be passive in the information that's being shared with them, and to really engage right away. And so it's using that hand raise function on Zoom, or saying, hey, do you want to hop on and have lunch together, but in other states, and doing the same things that they would do to make friends, to build connections, as they would in any new environment.
So some things aren't different, but some things are obviously extremely different. And one of the questions that just came in on Facebook reflects that. And it's just a straight up question. Are you encouraging freshmen to come? This person says, I know many incoming freshmen feel like they will be missing something if they don't come to live in res halls. What would you say to students that feel like they will be missing something if they don't come to campus? Samuel, let me start with you on that one. I think it's a core question and we get it all the time.
Absolutely. And it's really a great question, Dan. I will share that we have robust programming and services online, and we've pivoted virtually everything that we offered in person to some sort of online modality. I'd like to share a few examples. The first is with rec sports. Now, the traditional idea is that you go to the gym to get a class, to lift weights. Our rec sports team has been amazing. And in March, they pivoted to offer all of their classes, almost all of their classes online, to offer group fitness for students to connect, engage, focus on wellness, everything from yoga, meditation to Zumba. So that's one way students can engage. Some other examples that are based out of the student union include our art studio classes. The basic needs center is also open for curbside pickup. The bookstore is open for curbside pickup and may expand services and hours. In terms of services online, UHS, or University Health Services, is offering services online, including counseling. Student Legal Services is also online. Our Center for Support and Intervention is online. So we've really pivoted to try and offer every experience you might imagine in person, online, or some version of that. In terms of academics, there's also a number of resources available to students online. By now, many of our students should have heard from their advisors through Golden Bear Advising. If they're interested in speaking with an advisor, they can simply go online and book an appointment with one of our professional advisors. If students are concerned about tutoring, we're offering robust tutoring online. They can learn from the Student Learning Center. Check that website out. It has all of the great resources available. I'd also like to highlight our partners in equity and inclusion in CE3, which is where Lorena works. Many of great resources there for historically marginalized students, and they can find all of those resources online. So I understand the fear of missing out, wanting to be on campus. Just know that we're all struggling, that we will not be hosting events on campus. We really will be pivoting, and we're discouraging students from coming to campus unless they absolutely need to come or it's their best housing option.
So not to put too fine a point on it, it seems like you're saying that unless there's a compelling reason for a student to come to campus, they should stay home.
Absolutely. I mean, and I have to say, when I left for college, it was a one-way ticket, right? My family loved me. They were very supportive of me, but it was sort of a one-way ticket. When I left, I left. So I wouldn't have had the opportunity to leave for a year, go back home, leave, come back. So we have to acknowledge that for many of our students, the best option is for them to return to campus, and we support that. What we're saying is, if you have another option and you're okay where you are, please stay safe where you are and avoid returning to campus right now.
Lorena, do you have the same advice for transfer students?
Absolutely. If possible, stay where they are, where it's safe. We've done a lot, created a lot of services online, as has been mentioned. All of the services that we're offering for transfer students through the Transfer Student Center, but also throughout CE3, many of those services are going to be online. So students won't necessarily be missing out on these opportunities to connect, to get information, to learn, to explore, to discover. Those opportunities we are really actively looking to create and develop online so that students can still be part of those kinds of opportunities.
And Mickey, thank you. Mickey, let me turn this inside out for you. I think we're getting a pretty clear message from Lorena and Samuel about what the advice is, that you don't have an important or a compelling reason to be on campus, is to stay home. But for those who do want or need to come to campus to live in Berkeley or in a university res hall, what will that be like? What will the positive aspects be of their experience? What are we doing to support them?
I think I have wonderful colleagues in the residential life team who are just incredible and are working really hard to balance the health and safety, but the community piece. That is what they are known for. They spend so much time working on what does it mean to build relationships. For many of our students, even our transfers first years, this could be the first time they're moving away from family, away from supporters, significant others. And what is that like for them? And so still having those same conversations, still that dialogue. And I know that there are students who have expressed from the spring semester, the obvious challenge that can happen depending on what space you have to study. And so one opportunity of those who have accepted their housing contract and are planning to join us in August is that we are in all singles. And so they will have that designated space for them to really focus on that classroom experience. But I really do want the folks to realize, like, there is no secret hidden event, I promise you. And that actually our team in New Student Services, one of the commitments we made earlier in the summer was saying we're planning to serve this incoming class much beyond the first day of classes. So that is a commitment that our team has made, and recognize there's a lot of programming that just has to happen in person, that there are some things that just don't have the same appeal virtually. Well, there are some that are. And so that might mean that when folks join us maybe in the spring or next fall even, that we're able to host and we welcome. And so that's a commitment that our team has made, is to recognize that when folks do arrive, whenever that may be, and for whatever reason is the right reason for them, there's folks here to support them doing it. And so I can't speak highly enough about our residence life team, who have folks in the residence halls 100% of the time, current students, professional staff who can support that group who's moving in August.
So we're going to come back to talk more about students who will be coming to campus, but let's return our attention to what sounds like will be a majority of transferring freshmen who will be staying distant from campus at home or otherwise. Mickey, let me stay with you on this next one. What advice do you have for new students who will be studying from home and living with others? The kind of advice that will raise the chances that their experience will be a meaningful one and an educational one.
We want them to be able to recognize and celebrate that this is actually a transition, that even if your space is the same and the folks you're living with, maybe your parents or whoever it may be, are the same, that we do want to honor and recognize that a transition is happening. You are a Berkeley student, your classroom experience, if you were a transfer and have been in community college, the classroom experience looks different as it would from high school to Berkeley, and wanting to be able to honor that. So in any ways that you can, try to be able to make a space for yourself. And that might mean a space that has headphones, or that you share your schedule with your family, so they're not knocking on the door. But we also have honored and recognized that perhaps siblings are now a part of the classroom experience. And that's okay. And so something I've been encouraging even the current students in my office to work with is talk to those they live with, almost in the same way our residence life team asks folks to do a roommate agreement, is to kind of recheck in. Just because a new student, you are not on Zoom in a classroom doesn't mean that you're not studying or learning or engaging. And so those times are still very much a part of your experience. So encourage you to start that communication with folks who are around you about what are you hoping, what are you expecting? And maybe a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks in, check in. How is this working? Because we recognize that that added pressure. And there's also some pretty cool opportunities there, a family to be able to still be with family or partners in a way that they wouldn't be able to do before. So I would say starting that communication plan and maybe even scheduling a time a couple weeks in to say, is this working for us? Because we do want our students to feel like they can really embrace, like we said, all these opportunities that Samuel has listed and the things coming from the Transfer Student Center. And some of those might be at different times of day. And so what does that mean for a family schedule or partners or roommates? So just starting that conversation and scheduling a time to recheck back in.
Super, great advice. Samuel, let me come to you with the next one. We're getting a number of questions, and we've gotten questions along these lines in past events. And that's about how we are as a university going to help facilitate and support the social interactions among students, which in the past have been such an essential part of the collegiate experience. I know they were for me, I'm sure they were for you. And so got a couple of questions here that just came in on through Facebook Live. How will new students meet friends if they aren't physically on campus? How will freshmen meet other students in their major? Are there any plans to help students meet others in their major? I think you see where these are going, and there's a lot of similar questions about how do you facilitate human connection in a virtual online world?
Yeah, Dan, I think it's really important that we emphasize that our modality for fall is hybrid. So the difference being when public health guidelines allow, we'll be offering instruction and services in person. And I'm not trying to be petty about this, but I think that distinction is really important. So remind our students, our incoming students, that this is very temporary, right? We're not hoping the entire academic year or years or their entire time at Berkeley will be online, but this is simply a moment in time. To answer your question specifically, what we're planning on doing from the very beginning, and Mickey can speak to the details of this, is to really create cohorts and groupings of students based on residential versus non-residential, transfer students versus freshmen. And our hope is that we keep these groups together throughout the academic year so that when we do have moments and we are welcome back to campus and we welcome the students back, that they can connect in person. Additionally, we're hoping that on the academic side of the house, through the Learning Center and through class office hours, we're hoping through courses, students will naturally begin seeing other students and connect. It'd be great if on the instruction side, faculty gave students the first 4 or 5 minutes to connect with study groups or other ways to find community. So we're all being very super intentional, and to be completely transparent, we had a little bit of a dry run in March, but we've not started a semester this way. So we are all thinking about different ways to connect students, both inside the classroom and through various activities. So if I were an incoming freshman, one of the things that I would sort of flip and say, rather than view this as a barrier, I would view this as an opportunity, right? An opportunity to try on a number of different things. Try clubs or orgs, right? We have over 1,200 student clubs and organizations. So it's callink.berkeley.edu. That's really our hub for student clubs and organizations. There is something there for everyone. And if you can't find what you're looking for, the good news is you can start your own club or organization. Our clubs and orgs on campus are very active. We expect them to have a very strong online presence. So if I were a student or an incoming freshman or incoming transfer student, I would definitely say get connected with the club or organization, get connected with other students in your classes or courses, and stay connected to the cohort that we connect you with through GBO.
And GBO is an acronym for?
Golden Bear Orientation, and I'll let Mickey take more of those details.
Mickey, go for it.
So for us, small groups matter, is being able to build those connections. So we will automatically put students into small groups. Like I said, about 30 to 40. They will first split by first years and transfers. And then we will also go farther into each of those subgroups to residential versus non-residential. So for example, if you are living in the residence halls, the way we're going to work it is likely 2 to 3 floors combined will create a Golden Bear orientation group. And you'll have your orientation leaders who are working on a ton of incredible fun programming to get folks connected, to get to know each other. And then for all of our students who aren't living in the residence halls, one of the things that we're looking for the connection, historically, it's actually been pretty random. Randomized set. What we're doing this year is we're trying to group students by their academic interests, recognizing that classroom environment is where a lot of folks are looking for those connections. So we're going to help do that already. And I am very excited to be able to report that on Monday of Golden Bear Orientation. I believe that's August 24th. That day is really designated for college programming, college major programming. And I've learned from many of the colleges that their focus is really on community, on allowing students to make connections with each other, because they know we can get the logistics, we can get course enrollment, we can do all those things, and making connections and getting folks to feel like they have a place here really matters. So I'm really excited to learn that's the focus that they're taking. So I think Golden Bear Orientation is really going to be a starting point. And because we make the groups for them, there's not this fear of I have to show up alone and everyone else already knows what's going on. I think even though Berkeley is a learning institution, you're literally coming to learn, this fear that you have to already know the answer. And so we, with Golden Bear Orientation, build it all in. So as long as you just kind of go along with your schedule, show up when your orientation leader asks you to virtually, everyone else will be there too. And you don't have to have this fear that I don't know what's going on or someone else already has everything all together, because the great part about it is we're all on that same playing field. We're all trying to figure this out and make that connection. And so I'm also pretty proud to be able to work with almost 550 volunteer orientation leaders who are just ecstatic to welcome this incoming class. And I think want to go above and beyond to help them make those connections.
I'm going to thank you, Lorena. I'll come to you in a second, but Samuel, I saw your finger up. Do you have something to add there?
No.
Oh, just a wandering finger?
My eyes.
No worries. Lorena, let me ask you, so pardon my ignorance, but I'm not even sure if transfer students participate in Golden Bear Orientation. And if they do, what special programs are there for them? And if they don't, what does their orientation look like?
Yeah, certainly Mickey will have an opportunity, I think, to talk in greater detail. But I think Mickey and her team over the years have done just this outstanding job of creating a very distinct welcome, a very distinct orientation for transfer students, recognizing that we're talking about a population of students that has college experience, that's coming in with different types of experience. Some are students who are parents, as Mickey said earlier. Some are veteran students. Some are reentry students, 25 years of age and older. It's an incredibly diverse population of students. And so I think that orientation takes that into consideration. I think the second thing Mickey and her team have done so well through orientation is to really reach out to campus partners. In other words, this is not just something that Golden Bear Orientation does on its own, by itself. Not only does it rely on an incredible team of student volunteers, but it also relies on campus partners who are experts, who know the population, and who have programs and services to offer, and that want to promote them. And so it's really about connecting them that early on in the experience, just as they get here, and involving the campus in that effort. So it's a tremendous effort. I don't know how it happens, frankly. It's all part of Mickey's magic. Exactly. And so, but it's a phenomenal success.
Mickey, anything you want to add there for transfer students, specifically about Golden Bear orientation, the parts of the program that are oriented to them?
Well, for right now, students are in Golden Bear Prep. It's an online module that's really helping to introduce campus. And right now, transfer students are in a specific one just for them that we've built around them and we've adapted year after year. So they're actually getting, like, we tested to see in their knowledge of the Transfer Student Center. So we want to make sure they're connected there. And as Lorena said, it's not our job to be all things for the entire coming class, but to help them make that next step of getting to that next place. And I feel very strong with that. And we really work with campus partners to do that. So a couple of highlights for our transfer students. One is ensuring that every transfer group is led by a continuing transfer student. That's a real priority for us, is being able to understand that experience, what that's been like, and speak on that shared level. We also work specifically, obviously, with the Transfer Student Center and to connect them with programming, the Career Center, and recognizing that the need and focus on careers and internships and research happen much faster for our transfer students, and so we focus on programming just for them. And our Career Center has been a great partner to also adapt to a lot of unknown worlds of what is internships, what are research, what do job opportunities look like right now, and so that's just being adjusted right now as we speak to be prepared for this incoming class. And then we're hoping to continue to engage and offer specific programming just for our transfer students over the course of the semester as well. So those are a few highlights of the things that we do specifically for our transfer students.
So Mickey, let me pick you up there. You talked about job opportunities, and that connects to a couple of questions related questions that have come in. So first of all, how will the work-study program work for freshmen who choose to stay at home?
Yeah, the work study program still exists, and so for students to be able to review their financial aid package to see if they're eligible for work study, and to go onto the work study website to explore the jobs that are available. And I believe a lot of those jobs are kind of turning into a virtual format as well. I know our office has work study jobs, and we've been adjusting so that way students, again, don't have to be on campus to be eligible for those things. And we also work heavily with our Office of Undergraduate Research and their internship program, their research program. And so that's one of the big areas we're hoping to connect all students heavily with transfers, but all first years as well, so they understand how to start searching for those things, because we know many research opportunities, internship opportunities, work study start right away in September. So we will spend time during Golden Bear orientation introducing those things. They can learn about it now in Golden Bear Prep, and then really get connected during Golden Bear orientation.
Got it. And here's a related question. Not sure which one of you are best positioned to answer, but will there be career fairs for online that are made available to students this year?
I can help a little bit with that, Dan. So just a quick plug to our Assistant Vice Chancellor and Dean of Students, Sunny Lee. She oversees our Career Development Center. There will be online career fairs. We purchased upgraded software to make this available to both employers and to our students. We know that many of our students, we tell them, go to college and you'll get a great job. So in order to fulfill our end of the promise, connecting students to employers is really a big part of this. So we'll definitely update our website with more information on career fairs as they develop, so that students have the specific information on how they can get connected.
So Samuel, let me stay with you. We have a number of questions, and you sort of referred to this, how things have changed, sort of the shifting sands that we've all been trying to deal with for the last 4 or 5, even 6 months. How will it look? How will we decide how and if we might transition from all online to accommodate some in-person activities on campus should the epidemiological environment change? When could that happen? Any day? Is it something we watch week by week. Talk to us a little bit about that. Give people an idea of how that process might work and how it would begin.
Okay. Well, let me first acknowledge that's above my pay grade to decide, but I can give you sort of my insight and understanding how it works. First and foremost, it's led by public health guidelines, right? So we would start there. Then the Chancellor's Cabinet, which includes the Provost and our Vice Chancellors, make the highest level decisions in the best interest in the health and safety of students and employees. Once things start loosening up, all of our guidance would come from that leadership level, which would obviously led by public health guidelines. So it's hard to tell with everything moving what that might look like and how that might happen. But I would imagine that it would be a slow integration back into campus and nothing too quick. Maybe Nikki or Lorena have more to add to that.
I think one piece too is just because, say, for example, if it did happen in the middle of the semester, it would not mean that as like our staff or I think departments would suddenly switch to all in person. So knowing for students when they're making those decisions, likely for them, it's a housing component where they're living for this year. There is going to be no expectation that you suddenly have to pick up your life because you'll be missing out on things. And I think that's where we have the obligation to provide multiple modalities to engage in programming, doing that now. And no matter what public health shares with us is making sure that if a student chooses to stay, perhaps even for this whole year because of housing, where they are, how do we still make sure they're being served? And so that's one of our expectations. And I think obligations as a university is not just looking at who's in front of us, but who's not at the table and whose voice is being heard or being included, and how do we reach out? And so I hope that we're all rising to that and seeking ways to realize how we can be better. And that change we won't suddenly say, oh, everyone find a way to get here because we're able to have an event. That will not be, I think that.
So speaking of coming and going, we've got a question here about what happens after Thanksgiving. I think previously the plan was that we would close down after Thanksgiving, meaning when we were talking about hybrid, but where do things stand now? If a student comes to campus, wants to be physically present when the semester begins, and then they go home for Thanksgiving, what happens after that? Samuel?
So it's my understanding that after Thanksgiving, we're going fully remote and not expecting students to return back if they were on campus. I would always direct students to our homepage that has all of our relevant COVID updates. And sort of building on your previous question, Dan, what I also wanted to add is that this situation of being hybrid has also provided us an opportunity to think about students that we may not have been serving so well that we can do a better job of serving. Specifically, I'm thinking of students with disabilities. I'm thinking of student parents. I'm thinking of students like me who worked multiple jobs when they were in undergrad, who may not have always had the same opportunities to engage on campus, who may now have more access. So I think it's really easy to say, well, this is challenging for everyone, which it is. We can also flip it and say, well, where's the opportunity here for everyone to also feel more connected and engaged on campus?
Let me ask you a quick logistical question, bouncing all around here, but we're going to follow our audience's needs and interests. A lot of people are asking, when will we get move-in dates and logistical information?
That's a really good question. I was just in a meeting prior to this talking about move-in dates. I would say, hopefully, in the next week, we'll be able to send out all that information specifically and directly to students. Right now, the window that we're aiming for is August 20th, I believe, as the earliest date, but I would definitely direct students that have contracts to the Res Life website. My colleague Jo Magnus and her team have done a fantastic job in coordinating the move-in logistics and planning for students. I will say that we're going to have very specific instructions around move-in. You'll have an appointment time that you have to keep. You'll be limited to the number of people who can help you move in. And all of these pieces are guided by public health guidelines and to really ensure the health and safety of not only our other students, but our employees who are on campus that serve students.
Got it. Lorena, let me come back to you with as far as transfer students are concerned. I realize I hadn't asked you previously, what are the tips? What's the advice? And I know that's going to be a lot different this year than in years past. What are the things how would you advise transfer students in before a semester unlike any other in Cal's history?
Yeah, I think that one of the things that I would offer, Dan, is that as transfer students, you are not alone. And I think that's especially important given our online kind of remote, mode of instruction and our kind of a virtual experience that students will have this semester. Certainly, the Transfer Center will be one fantastic resource for them, for all incoming transfer students and continuing. One of the things that's true about our transfer center on campus is that we are the first transfer center in the UC system. And so we've really had a head start, I think, on learning about the transfer student experience, on the needs of our transfer students, and have built some really robust programs and services to address those particular needs. So connect. The advice is connect to those services, connect to the people that want to support you, that can advocate for you, because I think that's super important in this environment. I think the second thing that I would offer is that transfer students are really going to want to jump into community events, career info sessions, academic support as early and as frequently as possible. This is where you will find other students, discover new interests, get the support you need, and begin even making more of the Berkeley experience. And lastly, and I think too, I want to echo something that Mickey shared earlier, which is make the most of this online format. Consider ways that you can make this work for you. Online formats allow you to step in and out of sessions, based on your interests, and to move from one area to another. So there's a lot of possibility here, and a lot of, a lot of things that will be offered that you'll want to explore and have an opportunity to explore. I think another thing I would offer is ask often. There's a lot to navigate, and it's confusing. And if it's confusing or overwhelming, it's not you. We can help you sort through all of that different kinds of information, because there's a lot coming at students right now. And so the important thing is to seek out support, get connected, go to office hours, create a network of support that includes faculty, certainly, but also student support services, staff, advisors, other students and advocates. You will need this team to guide you and connect you along your journey at Cal.
So it sounds like from what everybody's saying, there's really an excellent and wide array of support programs available, particularly during orientation, during these early pre-semester days. But what about once the beginning is over? What about once students are into the semester? Well, what form will those support services take, or are they all front-loaded? Mickey, let me come to you with that one.
That's an excellent question. And so something that we're hoping to continue to do as new student services is offer and reutilize some of the technology platforms that we've used in the past and will continue to use to hopefully provide a clearinghouse of events and opportunities for students. Because I think that could be the big challenge is where do I go to find these ways to connect? And we know, and I've talked with campus partners, how do we get this out? We have all these ideas. We have events, whether it's every Tuesday or for Transfer Tuesdays, or if it's any other events going on, that the question is, how do we let students know? And so that's actually one of the ways that for new student services, we're hoping to continue to provide that commitment of a single place where students we are going to advocate and reach out on their behalf to campus partners, to student organizations, to learn about all these events and provide them students a space to keep getting connected. But I think that means also for students, reading their email is going to be a huge factor of being able to understand what's going on. We are an email heavy campus. And I would say even more so this summer than probably ever before. So it's not just you that there's so many emails coming to you and you're trying to figure things out. We're sending a lot and I want to acknowledge that. Hopefully the number will lessen, but maybe they can be more tailored to you. Like for example, from your faculty member. And so following up on those things and signing up to be on listservs and following social media accounts of different departments and paying attention to what's happening in front of you. And I think that's where also as Berkeley is we are going to have to keep adapting. And so I think what I ask of students too is maybe if you didn't find that connection, find out about it in September, perhaps that department is still working on things and making big plans for October. So their experience in GBO is not meant to be all things. So our team is hoping to keep advertising, keep connecting them with things. So we will continue to have students answering the emails and phones. And even if they're no longer a new student, once classes have started, they're still new. We're all still learning these things. So our support to them doesn't have to end.
So speaking of reading emails, Samuel, I'm going to come to you with this one. It's an important, if difficult question. It looks like some folks may have missed previous messaging where it was made clear that because of the public health situation in Berkeley and the public health rules in the city of Berkeley, that we would have to go entirely remote for the fall semester, that some folks missed that message where we said a while back that if you don't have a good reason to stay here, you should probably stay home. And now there's some concern about the housing deadline because some of these folks seem to have just become aware of what I just conveyed. And this is after they've already committed to housing. And so they're asking, is there going to be any flexibility with the housing deadline, any chance to reverse course insofar as housing is concerned?
Yeah, I would definitely direct students back to the contract in the RSSP website. It's my understanding that there's a $150 drop fee for canceling the contract. I don't have the specific dates in front of me, but I would be happy to help update the website or make sure it's on the FAQs so that our students have the most up-to-date information. Listen, we're not interested in getting someone stuck or caught in a situation here. We want to be as student-centered and flexible as possible. And at the same time, we have to plan for staffing and planning, right? So all of these numbers are really critical for us because we have a number of folks that have to help with dining, with custodial services, with the Res Life staff who are there 24/7 to provide support for our students. We have RAs who come in and want to support our students and live in the res hall. So we have to make plans based on our numbers. So we ask that if students are going to back out of their housing contracts, that they do so as quickly as possible, understanding that we're doing our very best to provide excellent services for the students who do need to come to campus.
So I want to make sure that people understand this. So what my takeaway from what you're saying is that for whatever the reason, if students and their families want to change their minds about where they will be in the coming semester, that's something that's going to be relatively easy to do with maybe perhaps at most $150 drop fee. Do I have that right?
Approximately. I will say, though, I don't have the dates in front of me. So if you are in that situation, then I would definitely make that decision very, very quickly. I'm not sure what the deadline is, but if that's your situation, I would urge you, implore you to consult with your family and your support system, make that decision quickly, and notify us immediately.
Mickey, I'm just wondering, do you have any specific information about the deadline? If not, folks can obviously go to the website.
I don't have anything more specific than what Samuel had shared. I think it's just making sure to read those contracts as well. And I know things have changed quickly, and that even one day an email can change kind of your thoughts or perceptions on things. But I think it also means for students that if you do have a housing contract, you don't have to change your mind on that. You can still very much stay in that housing contract. There will be support for you. And so that expectation to this idea for staying away, if you have that housing contract, we're not asking you to cancel it now and suddenly not come. So I think that's an important distinction.
All right, so let's stay for a second, Mickey, with students who will be on campus. I got a few questions that have come in. What will they be able to do on campus? We're being asked if it will be possible to leave the dorm and walk around. Will they be able to go and work out? Will they be able to gather in buildings on campus? I believe there's a lot of restrictions on that imposed by Berkeley Public Health, the city of Berkeley. But maybe you could dive a little bit deeper into that for us.
Yeah, well, we're definitely not forcing them to like stay locked in the room. We know students have to eat. We know that also fresh air is good for our mental health. So we are Cal Dining, especially those who are living in university residence halls, are working on plans of what that means for picking up food and doing all of that. It is really important that when students in any of our incoming students, continuing students, staff, faculty are following public health and wearing masks, and especially only going out if they feel healthy. I think that's goes above and beyond of everything that we could say. But the buildings won't be open. So they will not be able to go into our rec sports facility and exercise. They will not be able to walk into our Sproul Hall and see financial aid officers. All of those and all the services internally have been moved to a virtual format. So even if they are on campus, they will still be accessing most of those services virtually. The few exemptions to that is our basic needs center and food pantry, an incredible group of students and staff who have made this amazing space on campus to recognize that we do have students who have needs of food and housing insecurity. And so that's an incredible team. And so they have been doing some great work to provide pop-ups for our students and wherever they may live. So really, they're not being shut inside their door, but that is also where, though, if they do get tested, that's why we've also developed isolation spaces, which will have a different protocol to really make sure that we're stopping that spread. We're aware that we have large groups of folks together, even as our residency population has lessened, and so doing what we can to minimize that, and that also relies on our students to engage with us in those expectations of isolating when they can, of wearing their mask when they leave, of not hosting events. And so it's one thing for our department or other to not host events, but that also asking our students to do the same thing and recognizing it's not just their health, but the health of folks around us. Specifically in our residence halls, we have staff, students and staff who are there 24 hours a day in the dining facilities. And so it's not just our students' health, it's the health of the humans who are putting themselves in that place to be able to provide the experience for our students. So we're asking them, as we do many things, they are part of the Berkeley community and their actions matter. So how we ask them to think about the safety and well-being of others, it matters. And I actually feel very proud to be part of a campus where our students truly, there's a great amount of care for others around them. And I'm hopeful for that.
So Mickey, I'm actually want to follow up with you about mental health because we're getting a few questions about that. But lest we create any confusion, I just want to make sure people understand that there are buildings that are currently and will remain open on the campus. Those are buildings that are being used in a highly regulated, highly controlled way for research with strict density management and strict monitoring of how people flow through the buildings and the number of the people in the buildings. But in terms of instruction, where we have large groups of students and walking through hallways, that's just not happening.
Correct. Yes. Thank you for that clarity.
Just for people who may have been through campus and noticed that some buildings are open, that there's a big difference between 1 or 2 researchers going into a lab and 75 students pouring into a classroom. But Mickey, let's stick with the issue of mental health. We have a few questions along that. And here's a typical one. Let me read it. With all students in single rooms and taking online classes or being on a computer all day, what will you be doing to ensure student mental health? And again, to remind everyone, this question comes in the context of a whole country, an entire planet that's struggling with mental health issues in a way that's perhaps never been true in the past. So what are we doing for our part?
I think first to recognize that our counseling and psychological services out of our CAPS is an acronym we go by, out of our University Health Service is still fully operational, and that they actually pivoted back in March to many of their services being offered virtually. So again, even if you're not on campus, say you're in Southern California or another state, you can still access those resources. And we actually spend a lot of time in Golden Bear orientation talking about mental health, talking about self-care, because it's actually a really hard thing to practice. It's one thing that we say these words, but what does that mean? And how do students recognize when they're struggling? And I think one of the things that we are adapting in Golden Bear orientation is to acknowledge the world that's around us, the acts of anti-Blackness, the impact of this pandemic, and what has that done to our health, physical, mental, emotional, all of those pieces. And so how do we acknowledge it and treat each other with grace and support, and also saying that it's real. And so we actually try to really prevent stigmas and bring those down to talking about it. So there will actually be a whole portion of Golden Bear orientation. That was a big priority for us, is to not remove that program, but to actually make it a centerpiece where we talk about mental health, we talk about resources. And I think a big part of it is our continuing students talking about what's been real for them. And reaching out and asking for help. And I think that may be a real challenge. I don't know what, if you've had conversations with mental health with your family or friends, where you are right now, especially if you're not coming on campus. And so what does that look like, to reach out, to ask for help, and to seek services that definitely exist. And they're working very hard to make sure that all of those resources are also still confidential and giving students even that virtual space of confidentiality. We think that's an important part of things. But
Got it. Somewhat, thanks. Somewhat, let me pivot from mental health back to physical health. Number of questions, understandable questions about that. I know that we are about to launch what we're calling a social norming campaign to try to get the entire community to abide by some of the basics that we've come to learn from scientists are essential for controlling the spread of COVID, from masks to distancing to hygiene. And so we're being asked, how are we going to enforce that? I think people are aware that there was at least one incident of Cal students living off campus who may have violated some of the guidelines, some of the norms, and there were some positive tests as a result. So how are we going to enforce the things that people need to do so the entire community stays safe and well?
Well, I want to start off by saying we believe that the vast majority of our students will follow public guideline recommendations, right? And so when we welcome students back to campus, we plan on having them agree to a Berkeley Public Health sort of pledge that lists out all the different ways that they agree to care for themselves in the community. We plan on actually enlisting other students to talk with other students about how we can social norm all of these directives from public health. So we are going to do our very best to help normalize this new way of being, recognizing that it's a lot for folks to take on and to learn. So we are going to assume the positive and also prepare for when students may not follow recommendations. We plan on making it a learning experience and process for our students. We don't want to make anyone feel like they're always in trouble, but it's important that folks understand that the responsibility is not just to themselves, but also the community. Dan.
Got it. We only have a couple of minutes. So I'm going to try to hit some, this is like the bonus round, some quick questions and answers. Questions about international students concerned that GBO, the Golden Bear orientation, isn't being offered asynchronously. They're in different time zones. How's that going to work for international and even domestic students in other time zones who may be the middle of the night when we're doing things for them? Mickey, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, great question. So a lot of our programs are being recorded as well. So we're hoping that most of also our small group meetings are strategically put them in the morning to help with a lot of those time zones and those pieces there. But a lot of our events are going to be recorded and made available to students and find that balance. While they could also participate live, they can also go back and be watch recordings after the fact. So we're really hoping to build all that in. You'll probably be hearing this session is being recorded quite a bit during Golden Bear orientation. And so that's how we've been building things along, wanting to try to model the same thing that our class experience is going to be like. We see that that's our expectation.
And Samuel, staying with the lightning round here, spring housing, people are asking if we decline fall housing contract, what's the likelihood we can get on-campus housing for the spring if the situation gets better?
Right now, the likelihood is really high. So we encourage students to keep an eye out. We'll be sending out updated information, and we would love to welcome as many students as is safe in the spring.
Last question for you, Samuel, then I'm going to go around the room one more time for some closing thoughts, and that's about isolation and quarantine. Mm-hmm. If a student who's on campus living in a res hall tests positive for COVID and they need to be isolated, quarantined, how's that going to work?
Yeah, I mean, if a student does test positive, we are going to ask them to isolate. If they're living in our res halls, we do have specific isolation spaces that we would likely try and move them to for their health and safety and for the rest of our students and staff. We have a 24/7 telehealth line through UHS. We will have specific staff that are designed to support students in isolation with 3 full-time isolation coordinators that are staff and then some isolation assistants that are students. So we'll do our very best to ensure their health and safety, the key being, communication and support.
And are we providing PPE, personal protective equipment to students, sanitizer, masks? What are we doing in that regard?
We are offering facial coverings to our students that are living on campus. And of course, we will have products to keep things clean.
Beautiful. So we didn't get to everybody's questions. I'm going to give you at the end of this, if you'll hang tight for just a bit, we'll be giving all of you who are watching websites where you can go to see answers to the unanswered questions. And before we say good night and goodbye, let me go around the room one more time here, starting with you, Lorena, for just some closing thoughts as we sort of step back and put ourselves in the place of, in your instance, transfer students who are on the cusp of a pretty extraordinary experience. Final thoughts, please, Lorena.
Absolutely. I think one of the things that I want to share, Dan, is that we, again, recognize that this is a very distinct kind of an experience, but there are so many of us on campus who have been working tirelessly to prepare for your arrival. And we have done some incredibly creative things to bring our services online and to offer you something meaningful and something that will serve you as you move forward in this journey. We recognize that transfer students have a short time on campus, about 2 years is the average. And so we are aware of that and are working really hard to bring those services, that information that will help prepare you not only to succeed at Cal, but to prepare for life beyond Cal. So that train is moving forward. It has left the station. What is left is to welcome you, to say you belong here. And we're gonna do our utmost to make sure that you feel seen, heard, and valued as members of our campus community.
Okay, Mickey, closing thoughts. You better hurry up because that train's leaving.
It's a hard one to follow, the wonderful things that Anna shared, but I would encourage students to remember the joy of the day they opened their offer letter and the confetti fell down the screen. There are still so many opportunities for that joy. You truly are, you're a Berkeley student. That is actually happening, and it's happening very quickly. And that we want to be able to learn about you as an individual. So in all of these spaces, small groups, large groups, classrooms, is be willing to take that step and meet a friend and say hi and reach out, because it could make all the difference for that community that you're building for yourself.
Beautiful. Samuel.
You've made it to UC Berkeley. You've proven that you're both brilliant and resilient. You're going to use the skills and strengths that you already have, and you're going to develop new ones, and you're going to make the most out of your time at UC Berkeley. We are so excited to welcome you, the class of 2022 for transfer students and the class of 2024 for freshmen. Go Bears!
Go Bears!
Yeah, we had to have one of those. Thanks for remembering. So anyway, I want to thank all of our panelists for your time and your hard work. And given that the only certain thing right now is continuing uncertainty, I want to assure everyone who watched today, we're going to continue to do our best to communicate in a timely and transparent manner. As I mentioned at the top, we have one more of these student-oriented events coming up on August 11th at 5 p.m. And there we'll be talking in greater detail about supporting the student experience during these challenging times. Again, past events where we talked about instruction and housing can be found on the Campus Conversations website. And right now, I'm going to ask my friends at ETS to put up a slide that will show all of you who are watching key websites where you can find answers to questions that came up today and updated information as we go along. The first, student affairs. The second is for housing questions. The registrar site has FAQs constantly updated about instruction. And then the overall campus coronavirus website, which is constantly updated and is a great place for one-stop shopping for information about the fall and beyond. And with that, thanks everyone again for joining us. Stay safe, be well, and please keep your distance. Thank you.